Hello and welcome back to the first video in a tutorial series about creating your first multiplayer game. And yeah, let's dive right into it. In this part, I'm going to tell you how you can set up your Unity project to support multiplayer, and how to actually then connect to the servers. Doing the room stuff, and then further on actually the game. I'm trying to make like a very simple FPS. Yeah, very simple template FPS that you can then modify. But yeah, that's going to be in later videos. Today it's just going to be about setting up Unity and all of that stuff. So first of all, I have two links in the description. The first one is going to be to Pun2 in the Unity Asset Store. You're going to have to add this to your assets, as we're not going to use Unity's netcode, but rather a SDK, again this Pun2, which is basically like a simplification for multiplayer. You can also write multiplayer completely raw using Unity's built-in multiplayer system, but that's very tedious, and especially like creating your first multiplayer game, you're not going to want to fiddle around with that. So yeah, we're going to use Pun2. And with this, you will also have to, first of all, add to your assets. And for that, you have to log in. I already have it, so yeah. You're going to have to now go to the Photon webpage. There's also the link in the description. Click on sign in up here, and then create an account. Okay, so once logged in, you're going to see this project overview page. And I have quite a lot of apps already. However, this is probably going to be blank for you. Here are going to be all your projects, and you're going to be able to see stats of your projects, like how many concurrent users you have and all of that. With the free version of Photon, you have like a max amount of concurrent users, that's 20, but then you can also pay amount of money to obviously increase it. But for our purposes, 20 is just fine. So now you want to navigate to create a new app. Click on here. Very important, change this photon type from real time to pun, because that's what you're going to use. Your application's name, this doesn't have to be the name you give your project later on, but it's always quite a big brain to do that. So I'ma just call mine YouTube YouTube multiplayer tutorial. Yeah, that seems fine. A description, that also doesn't have to be there, but I'ma just call it short tutorial, smiley face. Yep. And that URL, you can skip that. We want to click on create. It's going to take a bit, and then what we should have is here, this thing. And the most important thing here is this app ID field. It's very important that you do not show this app ID to anyone else. That's also why everything else on this page is currently blurred. But yeah, you're going to need this later on, so keep this web page open. Now we want to go to the Unity Hub. Click on New Project. This might look different for you because I have like the newest Unity version. And I'm gonna click on 3D. You can also do most of the steps, or basically all steps, and copy them in 2D. But yeah, I might just want to create a 3D game. So let's call this to YouTube tutorial multiplayer. Yep. Again, this doesn't have to be the same one as here. So just so that I'm gonna just call it. Cool. Okay, let's create this project. Okay, so here we are, and the first thing we want to do to be able to use Pun in here is navigate this window panel here, go into Package Manager, and then change this from Project to My Assets. And here we have it, Pun2 free. Here you want to then click Import. There's probably like a button here called Download, so click that first and then click Import. It's then again going to take quite a bit of time, and here just click on Import. Okay, so when all of this is finished, this little window should have plopped up that requires this app ID that I mentioned earlier. So go back to the website where you create your app, click on this here, click, copy, then go to Unity, put this in here, and then click Setup Project. And yeah, that's it. You basically now have Photon on your in your project, and this project is now connected to this website here. So yeah, you basically now have the basic shit done. Now what I highly recommend is going up to here and seeing this pan logging and switching it from errors only to full or informational. This is just going to display a lot of debug logs in the console that are quite useful. And then this dev region, it's just going to basically take like the best region or best servers in your area. However, if you have a preference, you can put that in here too. Okay, so now let's actually go into our scene, and yeah, let's actually connect to the servers. So for that, I'm just going to rename the scene to, how about menu here. Yeah, I want to reload the scene. I want to create a canvas because I want to like basically show up a small window where there's going to be like a little text that says connecting, and like on the startup the project's going to connect to the servers, and then I'm going to display a lot of options like play and all of that. And for all the gamers out there, please, if your game has a single player mode, first let the player choose if they want to play single player or multiplayer. The amount of times I've started up a game that has a single player game mode and it has told me cannot connect to servers it's frustrating. So please, 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 if your game has a single player game mode, only connect to this like the internet and the servers if the player wants to play multiplayer. Okay. So going from that rant, let's click on our canvas, scale of screen size. Let's change this from 1920 to 1080 here. That's like the most common screen size. Let's put that to 0.5 or just 0, doesn't matter really. And click on our scene here, click on 2D, makes it easier to have this here. Press F, it centralizes it. Click on our game, has the 16:9 aspect here, perfect, okay. So this is our game window. And as I said, I want to right click on the canvas, UI, import text mesh pro. Yep. Again, wait a bit because that's basically game development in a nutshell. And here, okay, we have some basic text here. And yeah, you know what? Because I talked about it, let's create a single player option too. It's not going to do anything, but just that it's there. So let's call this single player. Control D, let's call this multiplayer. And let's move this multiplayer button down, select both of them and scale them up a bit. And then again, move this one up a bit here. And let's change the text of both of them to single player and multiplayer. Okay, and if we look into a game view, yep, that's fine. Let's also click on our main camera here, and instead of this skybox background, we want to have like a solid color. And instead of this ugly blue, let's make it chill, maybe beige. Oh, yeah, that looks quite, that looks okay, Let's scale them up a bit again. That. Okay, so now when starting the game you have these two options. They don't do much right now, but you have them. Okay, so then let's create our first actual script. What I always do, I divide my game into basically 3 stages. So the first one being the menu, then the room. A lot of times I put the room into the menu, but that's for another video. And then the actual game in another scene. So what I always do is we can just create like this empty object here, and I will always call it something like menu manager or something like that. And let's also then attach an opponent called the menu manager, which is going to be the script that handles connecting us to the servers, disconnecting us if we want to, I don't know, disconnect from the servers and play some single player shit. And yeah, it handles all of that kind of stuff. So let's put this up. And while this is running, we can also go back here because we can then already actually set up other stuff, like what gets displayed when we are actually connected. So going back here, click on canvas, right click, create empty, and let's call this load up underscore buttons. Button, this trigger me, let's put an S here, yep, and let's move both of them in here. Why, you say? Just because I can now turn them on and off, and with that basically switch from different options. So what I can now do is copy this, change this to maybe multiplayer underscore settings or buttons, and under here let's disable this. I could maybe have a button that says create room, and what could I also have? Maybe a join room, yeah. Let's don't forget to change the name of this, of course, create room and join room. Okay, nice. And this system is really versatile because we can now basically switch from, okay, I should have put this back to here, yeah, switch from this load up scene where we can switch between them to this actual then game scene, if it makes sense. Okay, I hope you understand. So let's move this inspector back and let's handle this, changing from one scene to the next. Oh, and I would also like to put in a little UI text to tell the player that it's loading. Let's call this like loading text. Very descriptive. Loading text. Connecting to the servers, smiley face, ... Let's go into scene view. Let's disable both of these so we can see the text better. Yep. Loading text. Let's scale this a bit. By the way, quick Unity tip: if you press hold a left click here and then press Alt, it scales on both sides like an equal amount. Let's go in here and centralize this text. Yep. Make it a bit bigger so you can see it. Connecting to the server. Smiley face. Perfect. Let's disable this too, and let's go into our menu manager. I'm gonna just move it up here. Menu manager thing. So now we want, of course, the references to these game objects. So first, let's make a new public game object called load up underscore buttons. Let's make a new public game object called multiplayer underscore buttons, and let's make a new public game object loading text. Okay, we also want to use, and this is very important, that if we want to use or basically alter and work with Photon in a script, we have to add this using photon dot pun. Okay, so now let's create a cool little function. This is going to be void connect or yeah, connect to servers. How about that? Connect to servers. And in this function, what we want to do is basically, Unity think. We want to change from these buttons to disable these, enable the loading text, and when we are connected, disable this loading text, and then enable this multiplayer buttons. And for that, we also have to change this mono behavior to mono behavior pun callbacks. What this means is that we basically get access to a lot of things like override. You're going to need this quite a lot. On created room. You see, so basically these are events that get called when something happens that has something to do with pun. And we're going to use the override on connected. And as I'm pretty sure, yeah, connected to master. For now, let's put in a debug.log connected to the servers. Yay. And that's all fine and dandy. However, again, we haven't actually set up all the stuff to connect to the servers. And for that, what we want to do, and I know this is extremely complicated, so yeah, brace yourself. Photon, we have to write Photon network. If I can type, oh come on, Photon network, yeah, dot connect. Oh, connect to. Wait, am I stupid? I might be stupid. Photon network dot connect using settings here, and that's it. This function allows you to connect to the servers. Now you can actually specify and change these settings, but yeah, I don't ever do that, and you probably won't either. However, again, what we want to do is also change these load up buttons. Load up buttons dot set active false, so this disables them, and let's enable the loading text. So loading text dot set active true. So this again is not mandatory, but it just changes the these things here. So when we start the game, we disable them, enable the loading text. And in theory, if we go now back to our game view here, let's click on our menu manager. Let's drag in all of these things, so the load up buttons, the multiplayer button, and the loading text. Let's not forget to click on load up buttons and click on the multiplayer portion. Click this on click event. This gets run when you click on multiplayer. Drag in the menu manager, and instead of no function, click on this. Go down to menu manager. That's the script, and then there should be our. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, you have to make this public, because again it would be private, and yeah, no, that doesn't work quite well. Okay, so no function, menu manager. And as you can see here, we have our little function we created, so connect to servers. And if we now try this and click play, what we're going to see is when we click on multiplayer, it says connecting to the servers. And as you can see down here, connected to the servers, yay. Let's go. Okay, so now let's do something to make it clear to the user that we connected to the server. So let's disable this loading text dot set active false. Okay, and let's enable the multiplayer buttons. Yep, dot set active true. Meaning that when we try to now run our game, what we have is a little thing here. Single player doesn't do much, but do like single player anyway. We click on multiplayer, it's connecting to the servers, and yep, we are here. We can now, in theory, create a room and join room, but that's for future videos. And yeah, this is the end of the video for now. See you in the next one, and goodbye.